Welcome, friends, listeners, readers, and well wishers of the news agency. In the fourth edition of the weekend interview, we have a guest who retired as a career bureaucrat, someone who held various positions of power and influence in his long innings in the UP bureaucracy. Wouldn't be wrong to call him a man of all seasons. He endeared himself to various chief ministers in the state with his hard work and professionalism, and he seems not to have changed. Meet Alok Ranjan, the former UP Chief Secretary and Chief Advisor to the state government. Welcome, Alok ji. First of all, thanks for the time to come on board this interview. I have known you since 1998 when I started as a young journalist. You then also were a great encourager, and you still continue to encourage youngsters as their dreams take wings.
Thank you, Mohit. Thank you very much for a very generous introduction. I also remember our long association since 1998, and I am very happy to see where you have reached in your career, and I hope you will reach much further.
UP has recently got excellent ratings in the ease of doing business. Do you see a spurt in investments in Uttar Pradesh due to this, sir?
It is true, Mohit, that UP's rank in ease of doing business has improved considerably. In fact, it has gone up from 12th to the second position, which I think is a great achievement, no doubt about it. However, the real test of ease of doing business is actually at the field level, at the cutting edge level of administration. What kind of facilitation is there for a prospective investor at that point of time? That will determine the kind of investment that will come in. So this is the ranking. Now we'll have to wait and see how much investment actually comes after this. That will really show whether this ease of doing business ranking has had an impact at the ground level.
Sir, I asked this question because there is a lot of cynicism about these ratings because people say what is seen on the ground and what is actually in these rankings. There is a huge gap in all this.
Actually, these ratings are based on a set of reforms that have been recommended by the Department of Industrial Promotion, Government of India, and it evaluates on how these states have implemented these reforms. And this time, they have taken into account the perception of the industrialists also. To that extent, it is an achievement. But yes, you are right. The cynicism is there because issuing a government order or a policy is one thing. Actual implementation of that government order or policy at the field level is another thing. For example, in a power connection, you may sanction the power connection within 15 days. But what happens at the field level? How much time does the industrialist have to go through before he can actually get a power connection? And does he face any harassment? That is the important question. That is the actual reason why there is a distinction between getting a ranking and what people perceive is happening at the field level.
Alok ji, what in your view would be the impact of the new agriculture related laws on the farmers of UP? How can their interests be protected? Do you think that the violation of MSP should be criminalized?
I don't think we need to criminalize not selling on MSP, but the point remains that these reforms are, yes, opening up the agriculture sector. Just like the industrial sector was opened up in 1991, these reforms are opening up the farm sector or the agriculture sector, and this sector definitely needs a lot of structural reforms. However, the problem is that we have small and marginal farmers. The average holding in Uttar Pradesh is 0.8 hectares only. So this farmer, small farmer, does not have the collective bargaining power to stand up before a corporate and negotiate the prices and other things. Therefore, in my opinion, to safeguard the interests of the farmers, when the rules are framed for these acts, aggregation of the farmers into farmer producer organizations and farmer producer companies needs to be done so that the farmer is in a position to negotiate with the corporate companies when it comes to contract farming or even with the traders when it comes to selling directly to them.
You have had a very vast experience in governance. What would be the effect of the new labor codes of the central government and recent announcements of the state in regard to liberalization of labor related laws on industrial productivity. And sir, how do you think would employment of labor be impacted by these?
My opinion about labor reforms is that one thing is good. There are too many labor laws and they need to be codified and made simpler, and many laws need to be repealed. However, I feel we should not see labor and industry as being opposed to each other. My feeling is that labor and capital, labor and industry have to work together if we want to bring about industrial development of our country. If we want to make in India a reality, labor and industry have to work together. Therefore, we should not have an attitude that labor is actually an obstruction or labor laws are an obstruction. Some labor laws may need to be amended, but some labor laws are very necessary, like those protecting the wage and employment of labor, his safety conditions, he is not being forced to work in hazardous conditions, and moreover, this hiring and firing thing which is being talked about, I think there should be a process for that. It is not that labor should be retrenched anytime the industrialist wants. There should be some safeguard or safety for the labor to be provided in that. We have to focus on increasing the productivity of labor, and we have to build a healthy environment where both work together. Both work together. In my experience, I've seen, yes, I've handled a lot of labor unions also. They sometimes raise a lot of issues which are, not very relevant also, and sometimes they are on the war path for no reason at all, and you feel that okay, they are being unreasonable. But if you talk to them, then you come down, you realize that if you meet some of their demands, then they are always satisfied. And through this process of discussion, ultimately it is the industry which gains. Ultimately, overall, an economy gains. Therefore, labor laws should not be just amended just like that, or like UP government has said that labor laws should be kept on the back burner for 3 years. That I don't agree with. What happens after 3 years for one thing? Will the labor laws come back? The investor will not be sure of what is going to happen after 3 years. And secondly, this doesn't give a right kind of signal. This kind of gives a signal as if everything in labor laws is wrong, which is not true. We have to see, discuss, analyze, and pick up those aspects of labor laws which are relevant for labor and do away with that which are not so relevant. But overall objective should be industrial development where labor and capital works together.
Sir, as you are aware, the post COVID economy has seen a sharp deterioration. Do you think the government should announce special incentive packages for labor intensive sectors like construction, textiles, travel, and tourism?
I am in total agreement with what you are saying, Mohit. I think a second stimulus package is very much required, and this package should focus especially on the tourism sector. The hotel and the restaurants and the entire tours and travel sector, they have suffered the maximum. And in the package that we have announced so far, there is nothing directly which is flowing to this sector. So this sector needs immediate support from the government, and this should be done in the second stimulus package. Similarly, the construction sector also needs assistance. So all those sectors which are labor intensive and lead to generation of employment need to be supported by the government in the second stimulus package. We need that, otherwise with the growth rate being as negative as it is today, we will take a much longer time to recover from this. If you want to recover faster, we have to come out with a stimulus, we have to come out with more investment in infrastructure, and if we do all this, then we will be able to come out of this COVID situation much faster, and our growth rate will come back to normal, or like V-shaped recovery or whatever we are talking of. We should be able to reach that kind of situation. So yes, we definitely need a stimulus package for these stressed sectors.
Alok ji, COVID has laid off millions of people in terms of employment. How do you think this can be reversed? Can Manrega be treated as a long term solution to this?
You see, demand is depend upon the kind of money people have in their hands. So if we give a better stimulus package and there is more money in the hands of the people, and we also spend on infrastructure projects which also gives more money in the hands of people, then automatically the aggregate demand in the economy will go up. This is the Keynesian thinking. This was used after the Great Depression also. And if we use this economic thinking today, I'm sure more demand will be generated, and this will lead to more consumption, which leads to more industrial output and overall growth in the economy. So this is the kind of cycle which can come about, and consumption expenditure, as you're rightly pointing out, needs to be pushed up.
So metro became a reality in UP in which a lot of your efforts have also gone in. Do you think that the metro in Lucknow has been a success? And is there any felt need to expand its network to more crowded localities like Old Lucknow, Gomti Nagar, and Sultanpur Road? Or maybe even take it to Barabanki and Bakshi Ka Talab?
I am personally very satisfied with two projects during my tenure. One was the Lucknow-Agra Expressway, and secondly was the building of the Lucknow Metro. Both of them were accomplished in record time of 2 years. It is very satisfying, and the entire bureaucracy and the entire technical team, they worked together, highly motivated, and it was gave me personal satisfaction that this was achieved. Personally, I think metro has made a big difference to the landscape of Lucknow. And yes, there were two sections. One was the north-south, one was the east-west. The north-south part of the metro has been completed. We have to now focus on the east to west part of the metro, and even extend it to Barabanki is an excellent idea, absolutely excellent idea. Similarly, the metros in Kanpur, Agra, Varanasi, Allahabad and Meerut also need to be pushed on priority. As it is, the Noida, Greater Noida linkage of the metro, that is another satisfying thing, has also improved the potential of Greater Noida as an investment decision. So I think infrastructure projects like metros can make a big difference to the economy of that particular city or that particular state. As regarding success, at the moment the ridership may not be that much, maybe the kind of profits they expect may not be coming, but slowly it will gain ground, and I think with better management and efficient management, it will become profitable.
So, coming back to UP, there has been a huge spike in police encounters of late under the present dispensation. What is your opinion on the culture of instant justice as seen in encounters which have become a norm rather than an exception?
Personally, I am a believer in the rule of law. Right through my career, I have believed in that. And I don't believe that we should transgress the rule of law for any kind of a situation or at any point of time. And especially the government should never encourage this. The police has a tendency at times to encourage encounters because they feel that the criminal justice system takes far too long to give results. So the solution then lies in improving the criminal justice system, in lodging of the FIRs, in faster and more and better investigation, in better follow-up in the courts, faster decisions at the court level, more courts to handle these cases. There's so many things that can be done to handle the criminal justice system to give justice. So we have to give justice through the criminal justice system and through the use of rule of law. Personally, I am no great believer at all in this system of encounters and this instant or ready justice. At times people get very euphoric and they start talking about it and they feel very happy about it. But in the long run, it is harmful for the entire system and should not be encouraged at all.
There have been rumors of a thriving transfer industry in UP for decades. Recently, this issue pitchforked to the focus, again in UP in context of transfer of police officers. Allegations have been flying all over. What do you have to say about this? Is this industry real or imagined?
Unfortunately, the transfer industry is a reality, definitely in UP and maybe in many other states also. Actually, the real reason is the political interference that is there in the transfers of officers, even up to the IAS and IPS level. What to say of the other departmental officers? There it is much more. The political executive, in fact, is supposed to be concerned with policy formulation, and the officers are supposed to implement the policy. Unfortunately, I have noticed in my experience that the political executives or the ministers who come become more interested in the implementation aspects like posting and transfers of officers rather than in policy formulation. And a nexus builds up between officers and these political executives, and as a result of which, the overall efficiency and performance of the government suffers adversely. There are so many reforms suggested, like having civil service boards for transfers of IES and IPS officers, like having systems of transfers through using IT-based modules or use of computers for lower level officers, like even teachers that have been tried out. I think it's a very, very serious problem, and if it is taken up at the highest level, and if there is a political will, Only then can this transfer industry be nipped in the bud. Otherwise, it is something where both the political executive as well as the officers have got involved, and they try to get maximum advantage out of it, and they are gaining from this to the detriment of the entire governance and administrative system.
Alokji, my last question for the interview this week would be, what do you consider to be the most lasting contribution you made to the state of Uttar Pradesh as its chief secretary?
As Chief Secretary, there were a couple of achievements about which I feel very satisfied. One was the construction of the Lucknow-Agra Expressway, 328-kilometer expressway, which was done in 22 months in a record time and of the highest quality. Second was the construction of the Lucknow Metro in 2 years. The third was we were able to improve the transmission system and the transmission substations and transmission lines, more power generation, distribution system to give 24 hours powers to the urban centers and 16 hours to the rural areas. Then the implementation of the dial 100 for police, where police would reach the spot within 20 minutes. And similarly 108 for the ambulance service, where the ambulance was reached within 20 minutes in the remotest part of the district or the state. These were concrete achievements, but more than that, I would say what gives me maximum satisfaction was the kind of work culture I was able to bring about in the government, which was positive, responsive, accessible, and open to the people. I personally used to meet the people for 1 hour every day between 3:30 and 4:30 every afternoon, and anybody could come to meet me without having any pass for any grievance, and I always attended to his problem. So this created a culture of openness and transparency, which went down the line to other officers also. And second, I was happy that I was able to mold the entire bureaucracy into a positive team which started focusing on results rather than on just passing the buck or pushing the files. I would rate these two systemic changes as being the perhaps what I would consider my lasting achievements.
Alokji, like most of us in the media and otherwise also, people have always found you very energetic, welcoming, always smiling despite the odd hours that you worked. Thank you very much for doing whatever you've done for the state, for youngsters, for old people, the poor, the marginalized. May God bless you, and I hope that your smile will always be there to cheer us up. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mohit. Thank you very much for your kind words. I am most encouraged by what you have said, and I'm happy if you perceive that I've been able to deliver. I think that is the biggest satisfaction that a public servant can have at the end of his career, that he has been able to make a difference to the lives of people by whatever work he has been able to do. Thank you very much, Mohit. Thank you.
Well, that was Mr. Alok Ranjan, the former Chief Secretary of Uttar Pradesh. Until next week, this is Mohit Dubey signing off from the weekend interview.